Hey everyone, my name's Carrie. Thank you so much for being here. Today is September 22nd. It's the first day of autumn. It doesn't feel like the first day of autumn here in Oregon, but that's what the calendar says. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for checking me out. However it is that you found me, I appreciate it. Today is episode 85. And it's been a little bit rough since the last time I spoke with you. I am in Oregon. I'm about a half hour outside of Portland. If you have followed any kind of news, you know that Oregon has had some really major wildfires, and it got pretty bad. Our air quality was the worst in the world. It was horrible. You couldn't see very far. You couldn't breathe. The fires were nowhere near me, but the smoke was so bad and so huge that it just enveloped the whole area. So it's pretty much like that the whole West Coast. Washington, same thing. California is doing the same thing. It's been pretty bad. It left me feeling not very well. I was having some chest pains and tired and a headache that wouldn't go away. I mean, it just felt awful, and I didn't go out. We didn't go for our little WALK in the morning. Even Violet, when she'd go out to go to the bathroom, a lot of times she would like to, she'd go outside and she likes to chew on a stick and just kind of hang out, and she would just go out, do her business, and come right back in. She didn't even want to be in it. It was really bad. It left my mental state a little bit shooken up. I had a hard time with it. A lot of other stuff happening at the same time, which contributed to it, and it's better now. So it felt really good when the winds shifted or the air shifted and everything started to clear out, and I can have windows open now, which I had to close because the dog across the street decided he was just going to bark. I may have to turn the fan on though because it's getting warm. We have not cooled off a whole lot. It doesn't feel like fall here. Usually by now we're getting like cooler mornings, and it just hasn't been. So it's still been pretty warm, but we did get rain, which just felt glorious. So that's helping the fires. They're starting to get them somewhat contained. It's still a pretty bad situation. A lot of people lost their homes. Our county fairgrounds took in a lot of evacuated people that had livestock, horses, pigs, sheep, chickens, ducks, whatever, and they're housing them there. And so I was really feeling kind of lost. I wanted to help but didn't know how to help. And you know, I wanted to volunteer at the fairgrounds, but I didn't want to stand out in the smoke because it was bothering me so bad. And so they had a list of things that were needed to help these families. And Jim and I went to Costco and got a bunch of stuff and donated for firefighters and donated for some people that are needing it at the fairgrounds. And our county really rallied and stepped up and really brought in a lot of stuff, which helped. So much so that they were able to take a lot of that stuff and bring it to other areas, other facilities that were collecting to help. So that helped me feel like I did something. It's just such a small little bit, but I thought if everybody did their small little bit, then it becomes a big bit. So it's getting better. I feel bad for the people that have lost their homes. Entire towns were wiped out, and it's like, where do you go from there? So still a long way to go. I will still keep my ear open for opportunities to help where I can. So it's been rough. I'm going to have to turn the fan on because it's really getting warm in here. Hopefully the fan noise isn't too bad, but I just need the air. So during that time, there was a couple weeks where we were really shrouded in smoke and just ick. And because I didn't feel well, I just did, and I mentally just couldn't. It was just really hard. You couldn't see the sky. You couldn't see anything. And I'm such an outdoors person. I love to be outside. I try and be outside at some point every day, and I just couldn't, and that was really hard. So knitting was hard. I mean, I didn't feel like doing anything. I have that quilt that's on the long arm, and I got to the point of quilting all the pieced blocks, and now I need to quilt the big blank blocks, and I just couldn't. I had a headache, and that's real hard for me to quilt when I have a headache. So I have to get back to doing that. So knitting kind of took a backseat a little bit, and but I did take out some watercolors, and I'll share what I did with that just in case anybody's interested. But meanwhile, I did finish my sweater. I was going to wear it, but it's just too warm. I can't wear it. But it is done. It fits me exactly the way I wanted it to fit me. I love it. It is the Simple Hug Cardi by Cozy Up Knits. I've shown this before. It is meant to be made with DK weight, holding it with a strand of lace mohair, but I didn't want to do that. So what I did is I put fingering weight yarn, held double, and got a gauge that I liked the fabric. The quilt. The sweater isn't supposed, the pattern's written to, I can't talk. The pattern is written to be knit with size 11s, and I liked the gauge I got better with size 9s. It was a tighter gauge, so I did the math with the help of the schematic on the back of the pattern, figured out how much ease I wanted. The pattern is written to have 12 to 15 inches of positive ease, which is too much for me. So I thought 4 or 5 inches, that's pretty good, kind of cozy without being sloppy. And it worked out. Thankfully, it worked out. There were moments where I thought, I don't know, is this going to really fit? Because, you know, it's scrunched on your needles and it just doesn't seem as big. But then blocking it just made it be perfect. So what I did is I held this, which is a color that I had dyed before. I had 3 skeins of it, and I only used 2. This is the full 3rd skein, so I'll have to hank it back up. But I made it with this, which has stellina in it, and then doubled it with this, which is from, where is it from? Northern Pine Yarn Company. And she's out of Canada, and I've had this skein for a while. I just loved the colors, and you know, always wanted to try and find the right thing to do. So that's what I did on this bottom section. Doubled with this, carried this throughout, changed to this in the middle somewhere, and I don't know who this is. I have a feeling it might be Despondent Dyes, a skein that Michelle gave me a while ago. But this is like kind of the middle section right about in here. And then the top, I did this, which is ball flower from a dyer in Alaska. So when I went to Alaska 3 years ago, for our anniversary, I picked it up there. It was my like souvenir. But Northern Bee Studio. And this was ball flower, which ball flower is a flower up in Alaska. So just kind of faded, sort of, you know, like as I was knitting and I got to where I thought I wanted to change colors, I would alternate the secondary color until I felt like that was good enough, and then just went straight from there. So I did have quite a few ends to weave in just because I was changing colors and stuff, but it wasn't any big deal. And then for the ribbing on the bottom, the ends of the sleeves and around the neckline, I did these. So this is the same color that I held throughout. This one's stellina and this one's not, but I had this that I had dyed like a navy that has stellina in it. So I still have that little bit of sparkle throughout the whole thing. So these 2 colors is what gave me the ribbing. Because I don't have very wide shoulders, cardigans tend to fall off my shoulders, and I wanted some way to close it without having to do like a shawl pin or something. So I decided to add some buttonholes, and I just put it on and went, yep, right about here's good. And I just did a yarn over and then knit 2 together on the next stitch so that my stitch count stayed the same, but it gave me a hole. And then I found some buttons in my vintage button tin that I have. It's buttons from my grandmother, and it was her tin, and some of them I think came from my mom as well. But I found these buttons that are little cows. So I'm going to take this off the mannequin and show you because it's pretty cute. Okay, she's in her bra, but it's okay, you can't see anything. So these are the buttons that I dug out, and they're little cows. Is that focusing? There you go. Isn't that cool? So I happen to have 4 buttons. I only needed 3 because I only did 3 buttonholes. I did do a small button in the back so that that's what's holding the button on when I sewed them together. These buttons do have a shank, which does help it close. I think I need to reinforce the buttonhole a little bit so that it doesn't stretch out too much, because that's just 1 yarn over and it left a pretty big hole. So I think I'm going to cinch on either side of the buttonhole to make it be a little bit tighter so those buttons stay. But I was so thrilled that I was just digging through, like, what am I going to find? Something's going to speak to me, and that's what spoke to me, is these little cows. So pretty cool. I am so happy with this. I will wear this. I will wear this a lot. I would make another one. It was a pleasure to knit. It was really nice to have this to knit on during all this like stressful stuff. So because it was just stockinette for the most part, you know, a little bit of shaping when you're doing necklines and sleeves and stuff, but it wasn't anything I had to think real hard about, and it was exactly what I needed. So once I got done with my Simple Hug Cardi, I thought, okay, I need to get going on some of the makes I've already got going. And so I had gotten to the part on my Alaska sweater. So my Alaska sweater is this one. I've shown it before. And I was to the part of starting the color work. So I still had stockinette to do in the round, and that was good. And then I got to the color work part, and I'm like, okay, people suggested the ladder back jacquard, and I thought I need to do this, but I need to concentrate on it a little bit. So once my head cleared and things felt a little bit better, I felt like I could tackle it. So I went by the video that Nathan, who is the sockmatician, put out on how to do ladder back jacquard, and he explains things pretty well and has a good camera angle on his hands so you can see what's going on. And it was sort of like, well, I don't know if I can do this, but I did. I got it started. Now, I haven't gotten very far. It is definitely a slower process. It's definitely slower to do the ladder back jacquard than just color work. But in the end, I think it's going to be really cool. And it's kind of bizarre how you have to do it. And I have to concentrate. So, like, I can't knit and do my virtual knit night because I can't concentrate. I can't do both. So, you know, it has taken some concentration, which isn't my strong suit, but I'm doing it because I love the sweater. So it's pretty much wound up on a pretty tight cord because it just makes it easier. And I was thinking, is this going to fit me? Oh my gosh, am I getting through all this? And then it's going to, because it just didn't feel like it was loose enough, which I know will loosen up when I block it. So I put another needle on with it and I tried it on and it's going to be perfect. I thought, okay, I'll go forward with my color work. And so I did start. As you can see, I've got the start of the trees. This ladder back jacquard is weird, but gives it a lot of stretch. You don't see the color work on the, you don't see the dark through this lighter color. I can't really explain how it is, but I do encourage you to check out Nathan's video, which I'll link down below if you're interested in learning how to do it, because there's a big span between color work. There's all these stitches that you'd have to do float, 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 float. And being that it's at the bottom of the sweater, I want that to be loose. I don't want that to like end up being the tight spot on my sweater. So I'm doing it and it seems to be working. So I'm going to keep doing it, but it is slow. It is slow, the process, because color work for me, I'll do it one in each hand. I know Chevy Rell showed that she does both strands in one hand, and I want to try that sometime, but I can't really do it with this. And so I have to you have to pull both strands to the front to do that ladder back stitch, and then put them both to the back. So each time I come to one of those stitches, I have to go through that process. And so it's just slow, but it's working. And it's just not going to be very fast. So I started on that, and then I thought, oh, I've got that cowl that I'm doing for the Knit One and Done knit along that I'm co-hosting or I'm part of, and I haven't even picked that up. I can't even show you because it's the same as it was like a month ago. So I'm terrible at my own knit alongs, but there's still prizes. So the Knit One and Done, as I've mentioned before, and you've probably by now know because we've been doing it since the 1st of September. It will end at the end of September. The idea was to take a skein of yarn and make something, get a head start on your gift knitting. And so there's several other podcasters. We're all doing it. We all have our own prizes. I will list the stuff down below. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But one of the prizes for in the States is a bag that I made, a tote bag. So that, and then I'm going to do a gift certificate to Trilogy Yarns. And that can be international. And then, oh, I don't have my mug up here. There's a Knit One and Done mug that's going to go. And I haven't decided whether I'm going to do that as like a separate prize, like a third prize, or if it's going to go with the bag, or I'm not sure. And I don't want to go downstairs to get it. But there's a mug, and it's a cool mug. So anyway, all the stuff, I have a Ravelry group that's got the info, and people are making lots of hats and socks and baby sweaters and things like that. So there's some fun things, and it gives me good pattern ideas when I see some of this stuff. And it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And, so put that in my favorites in my Ravelry library. So that's still going. That's going to end at the end of September. And so I will draw from my finished objects page on my Ravelry group. And so there's a hashtag Knit One and Done 2020. Fiber Hustle guys are going to pick a prize from that hashtag. The other podcasters will be doing prizes from their Ravelry groups. You can put your item in all of our groups, so you have a pretty good chance of winning something. And it's a lot of fun. I'm failing at my own thing because it is textured, the cowl that I'm making, and so it is something I have to pay attention to with the fires and everything that's going on was, all that. Couldn't concentrate on it. So I probably should have finished that before going back to the sweater, but I was really curious to try the ladder back jacquard to make sure that I understood that and kind of learn something new. So I'll get it done. It's just not going to get done in time for the cowl, and that's okay because I can't put my thing in the cowl anyway. I don't qualify because I just don't. So so that's what's going on there. So that's all my knitting. I did pull out some fiber to spin because I haven't spun pretty much all summer. Because it was just too warm, and I like to spin up here and it would make my hands sticky. So I have a tub of all my fibers that I've purchased and just put together, and I just closed my eyes, reached in and grabbed some out, and I'm like, I like all the colors because I bought them, so whatever is going to come up is going to come up. So I started spinning yesterday or the day before, and I was like, oh, I really like this. Especially if I can put on a podcast or I can put on a movie or something. I've watched Hamilton I don't know how many times. It's great. That's even great to have just in the background because the music's awesome. But yeah, that's a good one. And I'm kind of running out of things to watch because, there's nothing new really coming because of this COVID situation that production has stopped on pretty much all movies and all shows and stuff, so I'm kind of like running thin. But it's okay. That's my evening sit and knit stuff. So I don't usually knit too much during the day, so that's okay. I mentioned too that I did some watercoloring. So when I needed to still do something, I just couldn't concentrate on knitting. And there's an artist that I follow on Instagram. I don't really know how I found her. It just sort of came up. Her name is Josie Lewis, And she's pretty funny, and she does watercolor. She does a lot of other painting, but if you signed up for her newsletter, you could download these templates to watercolor, and it'd be like coloring. So for instance, here's one that I printed off. So it's just geometric shapes, and the idea is you just play for the sake of playing. Just do something for the sake of putting something on paper. So here's another one. It's little hexagons. So I did, and I was really enjoying it because it wasn't anything I really had to concentrate on, and I could have a show or a movie or something playing. I could sit and do it and sort of just lose myself in it, which I really needed to do because everything feels pretty heavy. And I even framed it. So I had something I had done that I had framed, and I was tired of looking at it and felt like it needed something new in it anyway. And so I did that. I don't know if it's showing up. There it is. So I just did watercolor and filled it in and sort of made a rainbow, and I'm very happy with it. And so it is hanging up in my bathroom. I started another one. I have some watercolor paints that have mica in them, so that's like a reflective dust basically that's in the watercolor paint. So I was trying those out, and I didn't get very far, and I was kind of making a mess, but you can't really see the shine. Oh, maybe you can. See, it's got some shine in it. So that was kind of fun to play with those. It's going outside the lines. It didn't really matter. I could throw this away if I wanted to. I could cut it and make it a card. Whatever. I just enjoyed the fact that I could just sit and do something that didn't really matter, I guess. And then I got pleased with my results. So I'll put the link to her stuff down below because she will post something frequently of just putting color down of some sort, and she's a little bit more free spirited about her art, and that was good. So there is a podcast called Curly Seams, and they're out of the UK. They're adorable. It's Tracy and Emma. I want my hair to look like Tracy's. I don't think I can pull it off because she's got awesome hair, but they're great. They quilt, they knit, they do all of it. And so they had talked in their last episode, and Chip from Fiber Hustle contacted me like, you want to do this? And I thought, sure, I love a challenge. So their idea, kind of following what we're doing with the Knit One and Done, where you take a skein of yarn and make something with it, is there take a yard of fabric, however you make up that yard, and make something with it. And it's supposed to run, I think, for the month of October. And so then the wheels start turning, like, what can I do? And I have an idea. I've started sketching something out. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to follow the color scheme of that piece of fabric. So that's just a piece of fabric that I've had for a long time. I have that kind of ombre look in different colors, but I'm kind of going with that sort of sunset look. I was inspired by, there is an artist that does watercolor. Her name is Cece, and she has her YouTube channel. I think Cece's Creations or something. And I love it because she's very free and then makes things look like something else. And anyway, she did this sort of layered abstract. It wasn't really of anything, but the style of it gave me an idea. I think I'm going to follow the technique from this book. This is a book that I got quite a while ago by Gloria Loftman. I actually have made this quilt in pretty much those colors, and it's hanging in my downstairs bathroom. So I'm going to kind of use the technique from this, which I have to refresh myself on how I do that. Kind of use the colors from that. And then you're supposed to use the yard of fabric. Now, they haven't put out the official rules for it, so I don't want to get started on it yet, but it takes me a while to put the idea together. So I've started on the idea coming together. do you remember a few episodes ago, I pulled out an old project, and it was the English paper piecing hexagon that makes it look like a ball that I'm working on. And I said that I made the pieces from a grab bag thing that I had gotten from Cherrywood Fabrics. Cherrywood Fabrics does hand-dyed fabric that look kind of like suede, and I bought like grab bag things. So this is about the size of the fabric that I have. They're about a 6x9. Most of them are really close to this size. So that's really all I have to work with. But I'm going to take those, and I figured out what the square inches are of a yard of fabric. So your width of fabric is about 45 inches, give or take. And a yard, which we use yards in the US, and you can use meters if you go by meters, a yard is 36 inches. So I figured out the square inches of a yard of fabric is 1,620 square inches. I figured out that these are about a 6x9. So a yard of fabric is about, using this size, I should be able to use about, what did I figure, 32 or something like that of these pieces. I'd have to redo the math. So I thought if I stay within 32 of these, then I'm within the boundaries, right? So I love myself a challenge. So I started pulling, kind of going by that, and I have this stack of fabric that I'm going to use to make something. And I hope it works, because in my head it'd be pretty cool. So I will get more information as they post it, but they're adorable to watch, and I highly recommend them. Curly Seams, I'll put the link to their YouTube channel down below. And so I'm excited to see if I can do this, because I mean, these are so pretty. I hope I can do it. That's my inspiration. That's part of the inspiration. It's the inspiration for the color, and we'll see what happens. So that's going to be maybe a make in progress here pretty soon, and I will be sharing the journey of that as I go. That's really all I have. Like I said, it has not been a super productive time. I just did want to check in, because I am part of the hosting of this CAL that I haven't been participating in, but you know, I did what I could do, and we're all good, I guess. We're getting there. So I hope wherever you are good and are still making stuff. And I hope you can, it's still not too late to join the CAL if you want. A hat does not take that long to make if you want to make a hat, and there's some pretty good prizes. So, yeah. So join us. Thank you for watching, and stay safe and healthy. Bye.